Prepare to be moved to tears by the incredible story of Judy, a beautiful pointed dog born in China in 1936. When World War II broke out, Judy's fate took a tragic turn. She was on not just one but two ships that were attacked and sank, leaving her in the middle of chaos and destruction. To make matters worse, she spent several years as a prisoner of war, enduring countless beatings and constant starvation. Despite her own suffering, Judy never gave up on her fellow crewmen and prisoners. In fact, she became their saving grace, repeatedly risking her own life to protect and save others. Her bravery was simply awe-inspiring. Judy's presence also provided a source of comfort and distraction for the men, despite the dangerous circumstances they were all facing. Judy's loyalty and love knew no bounds. Even when faced with unimaginable horrors, she remained by their side, determined to help in any way she could. Her courage and strength were nothing short of miraculous, and her unwavering dedication to those who loved will forever be etched in history. Her story has been immortalized in books such as Judy, A Dog in the Million, and Judy, the unforgettable story of the dog who went to war and became a true hero. Through these books, we even learn that even in the darkest moments, love and loyalty can triumph. Though we may never fully understand the extent of Judy's suffering, we can take solace in knowing that her story serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration to us all. Judy, a brown-white pointed dog, was born in China near Shanghai in 1936. She was adopted by the crew of the HMS Nat, a British gunship, as a pest controller and a faithful companion. Her furry presence brought warmth and joy to the sailors' hearts, making her an essential part of the ship. But when World War II erupted, Judy's life took a turn for the worse. The HMS Nat was called back to port, and Judy was transferred to another gunboat, the HMS Grasshopper, in June 1939. She continued to serve as a ship's beloved mascot, but the dangers of war were ever present. Judy's sharp senses and unwavering vigilance made her an invaluable lookout, alerting the crew of incoming enemy ships and planes and at times saving them from harm. Then in 1942, disaster struck. The HMS Grasshopper was hit, and the crew was forced to abandon the ship. Left stranded on an uninhabited island with no supplies, the sailors faced a dire situation. Dehydration and illnesses were taking their toll. The scorching sun was relentless. With no end in sight, the crew's hopes were fading fast. But Judy refused to give up. Despite her exhaustion, she began to dig with her paws, driven by instinctual need, and then a miracle happened. Judy uncovered a natural freshwater spring, bringing hope and relief to the desperate crew. They drank from the life-giving water. She once again helped save their lives. The crew, however, still faced a daunting journey to reach safety. However, through commandeering a boat and trekking for days, they were captured by the Japanese as prisoners of war. Despite the uncertainty of their situation, the crew refused to abandon Judy. They hid her beneath empty rice sacks during the journey, not wanting to leave her behind, risking their own lives to keeping her with them. It was a cruel irony that in saving her, they exposed her to the same horrors they themselves faced. They were taken to the POW camp in Meden, North Sumatra. Frank Williams was already a prisoner, and when he saw Judy, he decided to look after her by sharing his rice rations. The POW camp was a place of unimaginable brutality. The men were beaten and punished on a regular basis and forced to work in terrible conditions for hours on end. But despite it all, Judy remained a source of comfort for them. She would cuddle up with them in the bunks, offering a bit of warmth and hope in a place that had neither. But as much as she gave them hope, she also put herself in danger. Whenever the Japanese guards began beating a prisoner, Judy would snap and growl at them, trying to protect her human friends, and for this, She was beaten, kicked, and hit with rifle butts. She bore the brunt of their anger and frustration. It was clear that something had to be done to protect her, as it was only a matter of time before she would be shot. Williams convinced the Japanese Captain Baino, who often got drunk and became quite friendly in that state, to give Judy official PO status by offering one of her future puppies as a gift for his mistress in return. It was a risky plan, but it worked. From that day on, the guards were reluctant to harm Judy, but they still beat her occasionally, but they were no longer allowed to kill her, as now she was officially a POW. In June of 1944, Williams and the other prisoners were being transferred to Singapore by ship. But before the move, Williams spent several days training Judy to remain completely silent and still inside a rice bag, hoping to smuggle her along with them. And yet fate had other plans in store for them. The ship that they were on was torpedoed by their own British submarine, causing chaos and confusion among the prisoners and crew. In the midst of the mayhem, Williams managed to grab Judy and push her out of the small porthole on a rapidly sinking ship before dropping into the water himself. But his efforts were in vain, as he was unable to find Judy and assumed that she had been drowned. The pain and devastation of losing his loyal companion was almost unbearable for Williams, but he could never have imagined the incredible and heart-wrenching story that was about to unfold. Williams and the other survivors were being loaded onto a Japanese boat. Once they got to shore, they were transported to the new camp. He then began hearing stories about a dog tirelessly working to keep the men afloat and bring them anything that was floating in the ocean. That dog was none other than Judy, who had survived the sinking and was now risking her life to help her fellow prisoners. As for Judy, she and the other survivors were also being brought to the land by the Japanese ship, but Williams was not on that boat. He was rescued before Judy. The Japanese soldiers had seen her and stopped one of the prisoners from trying to hide her as they were getting into the truck. They were about to shoot her on the spot, as commanded by a cruel commander named Nishi, who hated dogs. Just as they were about to pull the trigger, another voice boomed out, telling them to drop their arms. It was Captain Baino, the original commander of the camp, who had registered Judy as a POW and wanted one of her puppies. He overrode Nishi's orders and told the soldiers not to shoot Judy, but to pick her up and put her into the truck. When the truck arrived at the new camp, a few days later, Judy spotted Williams and jumped onto him, knocking him to the ground with pure excitement. They were once again reunited. A month passed and Williams, Judy and others were shipped back to Sumatra, where they were faced with a cruel fate. The Japanese had decided to run a railroad track across the island, and the men were forced to work for 14 months straight in a grueling series of tasks through 140 miles of dense wilderness in the island's interior. Exhausted and malnourished, they worked up to 16 hours a day on a starvation diet. And as days went by, Frank's weight dropped to a mere 76 pounds, and Judy became nothing but a walking skeleton. The guards disliked her and ordered her to be shot, but Frank couldn't bear the thought of losing his loyal companion and decided to move her to a section of the jungle. There he trained her to stay put and come in only at nightfall, and only if he whispers her name. Despite her isolation, Judy was a beacon of hope in the darkness. She would bark and alert the camp if there were any dangers lurking in the jungle. During the day she would forage for food, and many nights she would bring something edible such as rats, birds, snakes to share with Frank and the other men who were near starving. Judy kept their spirits up and tried to protect them from danger, providing some comfort in the harsh conditions of the jungle. Frank and the other prisoners held on to the hope that the war would end soon, and in August 1945, they were finally freed from their captivity. They were evacuated to Singapore, and Judy and Frank spent a month in the hospital compound, regaining their strength and weight. Eventually, they took a troop ship to England, where Judy spent 6 months in quarantine as a requirement against rabies. During this time, her story spread, and when she emerged, she was hailed as a national hero. In April 1946, she received a medal for valour from the British Kennel Club, as well as a Dickin Medal, the animal version of the Victoria Cross. Judy and Frank was inseparable, with Judy becoming a beloved family pet and travelling companion. She even accompanied Frank on his travels around the world. But all good things must come to an end. Sadly, Judy passed away in 1950, leaving Frank and all those who had known her heartbroken. Her legacy, however, lived on. Judy had proved that dogs could be more than just pets. They could be true heroes who would do anything to protect their loved ones. Her story inspired many and became a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of adversity, a testament to the bond between humans and animals that can withstand even the toughest trials.